Welcome back to the Adventures of a Disney Dad podcast. This is episode 2. My name is Matt Brandenburg from adventuresofaDisneyDad.com. I'm welcomed by my podcast co-host Chip Robinson. Say hi to everybody, Chip.
What's up, everybody? Welcome
Today
back
we're
to
going to be
episode 2.
Today we're going to be talking about all things Disney. We might sprinkle in a little Universal, but I think next week we might have some more Universal centric episode. We're going to be ranking the moderate resorts today. So we're going to go through our 4 favorites, excluding Fort Wilderness, just for the purpose of this episode. And we're going to give you our favorites for the families, for the kids, for the pools, for the food, all of that stuff. Before we get too heavy into it, there's been a lot of Disney news this week. In particular, Disney Cruise Line has announced the Treasure.
Let's
Disney
go.
20.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
it's exciting, isn't it? How awesome did it look?
Oh, dude, it looks unreal. I can't wait.
What's crazy about this is they're booking starting September 12th for the Pearl Castaway Club members. Then I think the general public is September 20th. For DVC members like you, Chip, you can start booking on September 18th, which is right around the corner. I mean, that's pretty quick for the maiden voyage, I believe, is December of 2024. And they're going to already be booking out till 2025, early 2025. So if you're interested in any of those dates, be ready to book because I'm assuming the Treasure, I mean, with how spectacular it looked, it's going to fill fast. But let's pull up some of the photos here for a second, Chip. I mean, I just thought that this looked incredible. One of my favorite movies. My kids love Coco. There's going to be a Plaza de Coco restaurant.
It's got to be
Looks
it's got to be Mexican food, right? We're is that what we're going with?
I would assume so, but I mean, you never know. But it just looks incredible. There's a performer there acting as Miguel. I'm sure the music is going to be fantastic.
Oh,
It
awesome.
does say here there's going to be feature flavors of Mexico. There's going to be a Marvel dining adventure with character meets. 1923, more of a formal signature dining style restaurant. And then one of my favorite things that we saw was Jumbo Sweets. Do your kids love Zootopia?
They do. They love it because I had to love it. And a couple years ago, when I was teaching in elementary school, we had that was the Shakira song was the song I heard, so we watched it a bunch. And
Try
they got
try
that. They
everything,
got
I think is what it's called.
yeah. They got to have something with the popsicle where the he's melting the popsicles and selling them. They got to do something with that in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it looks like it's going to be all gelato and ice cream and treats and candies. But we love Zootopia in our house, and that is one of my favorite scenes with the two elephants serving the ice cream. I think it's going
Oh
to be
yeah.
fantastic. That's really cool theming for an ice cream shop on the Disney Treasure. When you look at entertainment, I've already announced Beauty and the Beast. Wow,
The Beauty and the Beast is also on the Dream, I believe. That's what we saw when my wife and I were on it, and it was phenomenal. Like it was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen.
so have you seen the Beauty and the Beast performance at Disney's Hollywood Studios?
Yes, and it doesn't hold anything. Like it's the one on it's like Broadway.
Oh,
It, it's
awesome.
it's
Just a
it's
whole
it's
different
so good.
quality level.
It's a whole it's on a different planet.
Awesome, awesome. One of the lounges is going to be themed after the Jungle Cruise, which looks awesome.
I'm
They're going
excited.
to
I'm
have
hoping for all the puns.
Yeah, you got to hope that they're going to have some of the comedy and bring some of that to life with the bartenders. They've got the Periscope Pub. They've got Palo Steakhouse. They've also announced French cuisine at Enchante. It's got all the amenities that you'd expect. It's got an aqueduct. It's gonna
Oh
have
no! Oh, Aqua Mouse.
the Aqua Mouse in particular, storybook time. They're gonna have a cargo bay, which is a shop that's related specifically to Star Wars. You can have chances to meet Chewbacca and Ray. One thing that's always frustrated me at Hollywood Studios is my kids always want to see Ray, and we always miss her. It it's just so frustrating. Maybe
I
we'll
think
take
we
them on a
saw her. We
cruise so
saw
we
her
can
twice
guarantee
when
it.
we were there. We saw her twice when we were there last time.
Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts. My daughter always wants to see her, and we always miss her. One of the coolest parts of the ship is the staterooms. They look fantastic. They've got some that are themed to The Lion King, some that are themed to Aladdin. And one of the coolest things about this is that it's got that elegant and not like in your face Disney IP. I don't, Chip, you and I haven't talked about this before. Are you a big fan of the like heavy theming at the resorts and hotels?
Yes and no. I mean, you got to have it, but it can't be like throw up on you type of thing. But I like a little bit, like I like some classiness. Like I think Polynesian, it's got to be Moana type things. Lilo and Stitch. I mean, I like subtle hints of it, but I don't need it everywhere.
And I think like my the polar ends of the spectrum for me are the rooms that like Art of Animation is too much IP for me. It's too much theming. But this Disney Treasure and, the Polynesian, Coronado Springs, like the subtle hints of Disney that make you really feel like you're there, but also give you kind of that modern luxury hotel feel, the contemporary feel. I really, really enjoy that. And so I love seeing these renderings. The stateroom options, they just look fantastic. It's
Yeah,
it's really
and
impressive.
it's the sister ship of the Wish, so it's gonna be the same layout, but I think they're gonna be almost. This almost looks more classy. I don't know
Yeah,
why. Maybe it's just the pictures.
it's definitely got some luxury feel to it, and I am really excited about it. I hope I can convince my wife one day to take a trip on the Disney Treasure. And I know you guys are planning a cruise sometime in what 2025?
Yeah, I think in 2025. And I will say with the Treasure, it is 7 nights versus the Wish being 3 and 4 nights. So it kind of takes the what is it the dream and the fantasy. It's kind of taken over their routes.
Yeah. And 7 days is a lot for a cruise, but you certainly get your money's worth, you get your experience worth, and they're gonna pack it, with character meets and all kinds of stuff to do on the ship. So you certainly will not be bored.
And
That's for
and
sure.
if you go hungry, it's on your own. It was the best food we've had.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So jumping into D23 is this weekend. I think everybody's expecting huge parks news. Stock prices down a little bit. I think there's just kind of a little bit of a cloud hanging over Disney parks right now. So positive news would go a long way. I think we're all hoping for it. The biggest rumor I think that we've heard so far is the potential updates to Animal Kingdom, which we all know it certainly needs it. And the rumor is that there might be a Zootopia area. A lot
It's
of
needed.
that's Yeah, a lot of that's coming. I don't know if you saw the pictures. There was some pictures posted of what they're doing in Shanghai for the Zootopia area there. It looks awesome. And I would love to have a Zootopia area at Animal Kingdom. It's a controversial opinion. Like a lot of the old school Disney folks that are very historic and want things done a certain way. They think Zootopia should belongs in Hollywood Studios or whatever. Chip, what do you think?
It 100% belongs in Animal Kingdom. If they're not going to do the dragons, which is what was on the original facade or whatever, whoop, hit the mic, original facade of the dragons, then you got to go Zootopia. I mean, that's what belongs there. Don't like if they're going to go Dino Land. You know, Dinosaur's a phenomenal ride. It is so great. It's well themed. I don't know what they do there, but there's definitely space to go Zootopia. And like, where was the? I know they got that amphitheater in there, but it's nothing's ever lasted in there. So
Yeah.
if they can do something with Zootopia and take over a bunch of space, it's needed. It'd be a
I
breath of fresh
think
air.
for us, Zootopia, and I would love to see a Coco themed area. We love that movie, and I feel like it could be pretty magical in the way that Disney does things. I don't know where you'd put it, and frankly, even if it's not Zootopia, I don't care what area that they build and they design for Animal Kingdom. It just needs something else,
It,
you
it
know?
does, and it needs more rides.
Yes.
And I don't need roller coasters. I need like I don't know like a good boat ride. I mean the one over in Pandora, it's like 35 seconds long.
Yeah. It
Give me something nice over there.
I tell a lot of guests that it's a half day park right now, and that is frustrating because it's worth, it's worth a full day if you want to spend it. But, for the most part, you can get a lot of the popular stuff done in a half a day and feel comfortable with it. And there's a lot of times where, I'll go with my family and we don't make it a priority to go there. If you're only going for 3 or 4 days, maybe you skip going to Animal Kingdom, while you're on that trip. And I think that's a little frustrating. Every family, if you're going for the first time, you should make Animal Kingdom at least a half day priority, get the park hopper or whatever, because it's worth it.
It's got two of the best things. I mean, the Lion King show is out of this
Amazing.
world. It's that we talk about Broadway type of thing. That is like what's Cirque du Soleil type of quality, and then you got at least a half hour on the safari. I mean,
Yeah.
and if you get the lion roaming around, I mean, it's worth every penny.
Yeah. There's no doubt. I think you have to go to Animal Kingdom, but it's just frustrating because it's the first park that people cut, when they're planning their vacations, and I think it needs a little love. So that's our news, for the week. Just touching on a couple things, and let's get into the moderate resorts. Are you
Oh yeah,
excited?
I am.
This it's my
This is your
favorite.
wheelhouse. It's your
This is my
wheelhouse.
wheelhouse. I like when we go to Disney, the moderates are where I like to live. You know, I think you're the same way. Like I think you stay at a lot of moderates, right? When you stay on
I
site.
I I do it well with DVC, but moderates are just they're comfortable. They're not
Mhm.
too loud. They're not too quiet. I mean, it's just I almost get like a motel feel, but with a luxury hotel. Like I don't know, like you know
Yes,
what I'm saying? Like I don't
like it
know.
feels homey, homey.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Yeah,
comfortable.
and I think for me personally, there's just certain reasons where you're like, I don't want Animal Kingdom on Lodge on this vacation. The Polynesian, availability is, up in the air. Pricing is a huge factor, right? Because you have to weigh whether or not you're going to pay the upcharge to stay at a deluxe. And the moderate pricing always just seems to fit right for me. With what we want to accomplish on our vacation, we absolutely, well, I don't want to spoil my top four. So let's jump
Well,
into
we can also
this.
one other thing. They are right in the middle of everything. Like all the
That's true.
moderates are right in the middle. Like
Yes.
they're literally in the middle of everything.
And the biggest thing that, we'll talk about it as we go through each one, but the biggest distinction in the moderates is usually the transportation, the pools, and the food. That's what you're going to find that's different at each one of the moderate resorts. So let's jump into it. What we're going to give our top four. Each one of us will talk about it, but we're going to start with number four. So we'll leave some suspense for the last one, and we'll go through it here. Who is your what moderate resort is your fourth best favorite?
Oh, my buddy Max is gonna be so mad at me. French Quarter is number four in my opinion. It just doesn't have anything that I really want. Like the beignets are okay, but the rooms just don't seem. And we'll get to my three here in a second, but it just doesn't. I think it's the weaker of the two. If we're talking the French Quarter and Riverside, I think it's the weaker of the two.
I agree with you. Port Orleans French Quarter is my number four too, which I feel like is a little bit of a controversial opinion. There's a lot of people, particularly on social media, that love Port Orleans French Quarter because there are some aspects of it that are very photogenic. The grounds are beautiful, some of the buildings are beautiful. It doesn't have any specific restaurant or food or transportation that like really sticks out and makes it unique in comparison, particularly to Port Orleans Riverside, which is, its sister resort. And it just doesn't have anything that makes me say, I really want to stay there in comparison to the other three options. Now, that's not to say that it's a bad resort because to me, it's a perfectly acceptable resort. And I think if you got into a situation where you could get a great deal on it, in comparison to the other 3 or in comparison to, some of the deluxe or value resorts, it's a great option. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just very steady. I think
It
is the
is.
best way to describe it for me. It's just very very average in terms of the other options available.
I will say it is beautiful at night with all the lights when you pull up into the front, like at the entranceway. That is beautiful. I will say that's probably the best part of it.
Yeah, and I think, you talk about the transportation options that are available. There's boats to some areas of Disney World from Port Orleans French Quarter, and then you're mainly taking the bus, which is fine. It's a short enough bus ride. You're very close to Disney Springs. I love bus transportation at Disney World, so I don't mind taking the bus, but it's not got the Skyliner or any of the other kind of benefits that you might see at some of the other options we're going to talk about. So moving on, what's your number 3?
It's Riverside. and
Oh,
Riverside actually is a huge. It's like my favorite to go to, but I'll say I haven't stayed at the other two of my top two, but I want to.
okay.
Riverside, I've stayed at the mansions. It was beautiful. Yeehaw Bob. Let's go ahead and. I mean, he's probably the best entertainment of any of the moderates. Yeehaw Bob. You go see
Agree.
him, and they used to have it. They don't have it anymore. We went in '08 with my dad, and they had this. I'm guessing it was Tonga toast. It wasn't Tonga toast at the Polynesian. Like it was like Tonga toast at the boat rights. It was
Hmm,
the best. We went there for breakfast all 7 nights, all 7 mornings. And my stepmom's like, we have to go to get this French toast every day. It was worth every time. I don't know why, but it's got boat rights. It's got the quick service, the the slide over at the Dead Man's Cove
oh,
pool,
yep.
or no, not Dead,
Old Man's Pool.
Old
Mhm.
Man Island, right?
Yep, Old Man Island. It's the main
Um,
pool there, and it's got a number of different quiet pools. The but that's your number 3. That's
I
interesting.
you and I text about this recently because I'm surprised. Well, I'll hear yours, but
So I just stayed there. So I'm gonna save that one. That is not my number. My number 3 is Caribbean Beach.
ooh,
And Sebastian's Bistro doesn't do it for me, which is part of kind of why I have Caribbean Beach a little bit lower. The main focal point of Caribbean Beach for me is the Skyliner. I mean, it's fantastic. If it's an attraction in and of itself, and staying at a Skyliner resort that is not of value leads you to Caribbean Beach, right? If you want to be on the Skyliner, you don't want to pay for the Riviera, you kind of fall into Caribbean Beach. And it's perfectly acceptable, especially if, the pool's fine, the pool's great, but the restaurants there don't really, do it for me. But the theming is just not my favorite. The color schemes, the theming of the rooms, it's not my favorite, but I love it too. I mean, I like that's I'm not gonna not love a Disney resort. Like I'll stay anywhere, but if I have to pick a number 3 and I have to rank these, that's where it falls for me. And the reason why is number 2 is Port Orleans Riverside for me. I just stayed there. I stayed in the Magnolia Bend, which is, the mansions, and the grounds are just phenomenal. Like the waking up in the morning and going to get coffee and walking through the grounds at that resort is something that you don't find at many of the other options. You don't find the big trees with the shade and the water, the Sassagoula River, the pools. I mean, it's just gorgeous to walk through. And for that, like I love to run when I'm at Disney too. So like the running paths are fantastic. It's just a really good spot to spend a resort day and go for a walk.
I'll,
I really like it.
I will say I have run that trail back in 2008 when I was training to get ready to go to college for football. I
Yeah.
did run that trail, so I have been there.
Yeah, well, and it's like the pools are the kids will love the pools. Old Man
Oh
Island
yeah,
is an awesome feature pool. There's a number of great quiet pools. The only downside for me for Riverside, and it's the reason why it's my number 2 and not my number 1, I'm not a huge fan of the restaurants. Boat Rights is great, and there's a sampler there that oh my gosh, it was like really, really good. And when you go with kids, every Disney restaurant that you go to is going to have stuff on the kids menu that the kids are going to be fine. But it's a very specific type of food. And then you've got the cafeteria style stuff. They've got pizza delivery there, which is nice that you don't see at some of the other moderates like Coronado doesn't have pizza delivery to your room. So there's just some really great options there. I love it. The only downside again is you're only taking the bus or some of the boats. You don't have the Skyliner that you have at Caribbean Beach, but it's just the walking through the grounds there. It's one of my favorites.
What about the? Don't they have the one rooms with the fireworks bed or
Yeah,
the
so they've
princess?
got they've got the princess rooms, and most of the resorts is Tiana's Bayou themed, and I love that it's not in your face, which we talked about before. It's not heavy theming. To me, the rooms are a little bit on like they're renovated, but they're a little bit on the older style side. They're a little smaller, a little darker, but they're really great, and there's nothing really negative about the rooms. The biggest thing too that I'll mention is like it's a big resort.
Oh, it's
So
huge.
if you get a room on the opposite side, it's a little bit of a haul. So you've got to be mindful of the maps and kind of where the bus stops are, and it can be a lot of walking, but it's gorgeous walking. It's a fun area to walk through. So
It's
that
mostly
leaves you,
shaded too.
yeah, with the big beautiful trees are just awesome. So that leaves your number two, Caribbean
Caribbean
Beach.
Beach. Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So walk me through what do you love about Caribbean Beach?
Number one's the Skyliner. I mean, that's I can get to two parks and not get on a bus, which I love the buses. But it's not so much the buses at the beginning of the day; it's the buses at the end of the day. With the
Mm,
kids, I mean, you're what? If you're on the one side of, if you're on the north side of the resort, you can get off at Riviera and walk. If you're pretty much anywhere else, you can just get off at the Caribbean Beach exit off the Skyliner. But with little kids, it's just the best of being able to get somewhere quick and get home. I think that's
yeah.
it's not so much in the morning; it's getting home at night or in the afternoon for the nap.
And that
What's
thing
banana?
rips through that line.
Oh, dude, it
I mean,
goes.
it rips through the line.
It says it holds 10 people, but it's normally just they put a family in and then you go. Like it's
Mhm.
and then we gotta talk about the banana cabanas or the bar that's at the pool. I mean, and then Pirates of the Caribbean theme, and then they have the Pirates room. I mean, big Pirates of the
It,
Caribbean guy myself. So
it does. The pool has great theming. Their main pool is awesome there, especially for kids. That theming plays really well with when you have little children. And as we said earlier, the Skyliner is an attraction. So like when you get up to go to the parks and you feel like you're already on a ride, then having to wait a little bit for your next ride isn't as hard for the kids, right?
yeah.
I
Or
mean, I found,
if you want to go to the park or go to the boardwalk and walk around the boardwalk. I mean that without a park ticket day, that's a great idea.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, or if you want to bounce over to some different restaurants and things like that, it's awesome. So let's talk about number one. It sounds like we're both having the same thoughts here. Coronado Springs. What do you love about it? Why is it your number one?
Probably gonna say the tower. That's probably why it's number one. And it's, it's just everything I see, everything I read is it's everything you want in a deluxe at a moderate price. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's the cheapest moderate of them. I mean, I think
It often is.
you're going in a couple of weeks, or you went back in June, July.
January. I
And
went January and I went in June, and this is my family's preference. I mean, like there is not the tower in particular. There is not a better deal typically at Walt Disney World than that price for what you get, because it really is a deluxe resort with a moderate price point. The tower in particular, and that's not to say the ranchos and some of the other outer buildings aren't amazing too, because they are. And there's great theming around those areas and around the quiet pools in those areas that really fits. And it's a really great loop, if you're a runner or you like to go for walks in the morning to walk around the water, it's gorgeous too. But the tower is something else. And the biggest issue that you can run into with families at the tower is if you've got more than four, you're gonna likely need two rooms, which can be a little frustrating, especially like for my family. We're about to hit that range where our youngest is one, when he hits that 3-year-old point, we're going to be getting 2 rooms, and it makes it, a little bit more expensive, and you have to kind of do different things with planning. But the other part of Coronado that we love is the restaurants. Maya Grill is a fantastic Mexican restaurant. Three Bridges, fantastic. Toledo, fantastic. Like, we love all of them. And so, like, there's really hard for us to find like a real reason to stay somewhere else. Like, unless you want to kind of bump up to a deluxe or you want to save money at a value. When I'm looking in that moderate category and Coronado is sitting there at the lowest price point and it's our favorite place to stay, it's hard to end up at a different resort, you
Can't
know?
argue with that. I mean, my wife's a big margarita fan, so for her to be able to go down, get a margarita at my grill, or go out to Three Bridges and do the flight, it's also, I'm going to say, when we were down there this summer, we drove by it so much because we were on that side of that area, and it was quiet in terms of driving.
Mm.
So I'm guessing on the way home from buses, you're not going to run into traffic. Like
Yeah.
coming from Magic Kingdom, you're on the right side, and where most of everybody else is turning left, you're just going right because it's just north of Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. And one of the other things, obviously the downside for Coronado that some people harp on is that it only has the buses, but the buses are fantastic. And, you know, you just have to kind of either, I feel like with Disney folks, you either love or you hate the buses. For those that are going for their first trip, the buses are fantastic to get you where you need to go safely without needing car seats and all of those things. But one thing that I want to touch on real quick that I love about Coronado that's a little bit of a hidden gem for the dads. Have you ever been at Walt Disney World, Chip, where you've wanted to watch a sporting event?
Pretty much anytime one's on.
But like I found myself, it was January 2021. I'm a huge Bengals fan. Are you still? You're a
Oh,
Browns fan, right?
I am a Browns fan.
Oh gosh. So going into January of 2021, the Bengals make the AFC Championship game. I'm at Disney World, and I'm like, I've got to find a place to watch the football game because they're playing the Chiefs, the chance to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm sitting here thinking, I've been to Disney, dozens of times. And I don't even know where I would say is the best place for a family to go and watch a huge sporting event because you want to be with other fans. You want to be in like a sports bar type atmosphere. So come to find out, Rick's Sports Bar is in the lobby of Coronado Springs. And we went down there. They had the playoff games on. It was a sports bar atmosphere. You're able to get great food. It's bar food, but it's great bar food and you can enjoy the game with your family. There's not a huge wait. You get out of there and you can head to the parks or whatever after the game or take the kids up for naps, whatever the case may be. And it was a really great spot. You didn't have to go to, ESPN Wide World of Sports or Disney Springs to any of those spots. So I thought it was a really, really great option. And it's something to keep in mind, even if you're not staying at Coronado, if you've got, the national championship game on your trip or your favorite team's playing on a Sunday. They've got all the NFL games on, so it's a great spot to go, and I would highly recommend it. For anybody that's headed down to Walt Disney World and they want to catch a sporting event on a break or whatever the case is.
And I'm with you 100%. I think that's one thing Disney lacks is that spot for dad to go watch the game. I remember we were down in 2018 when the Cavs were in the NBA Finals, and I'm a big LeBron and Cavs fan. I had to watch it from my room in Animal Kingdom, so it was
Which
kind of
isn't
like
which isn't which isn't terrible, right? Like I'd rather watch it from my room at Animal Kingdom Lodge than watch it from my house, to be honest, because I'm
that.
still at
Yeah,
Disney.
that's true. There's not like that. I mean, Rick's is the only one, and I think it's mostly because that's a big convention hotel, right? And that why they would have.
Yeah,
I think they need to add more of those. Like I
I
think they need.
agree.
I mean, I don't know why. I don't know.
Well, and it's going to be really interesting to see how things play out with the ESPN Wide World of Sports. Like there's a lot of rumors that Disney's going to be spinning some of that off, or
Yeah,
who knows what's going to happen with cable and streaming and ESPN and whatever. But that, that's a huge area, and they lost the Braves spring training there. I know they host a lot of cheerleading and youth soccer and stuff like that, but unless you're going down for like a Run Disney event, you don't really have any reason to go there.
And kind of a small like tidbit. You and I have known each other since high school. We went to the same high school. We played football together. And do you have Spectrum where you live, Matt?
We have Comcast, which
Okay.
I think is like similar, but
Yeah. So Spectrum's kind of like it used to be what we had back, or that's what my parents had back in Southern Ohio. They lost ESPN. ESPN's not on there anymore.
oh my
Um,
gosh. Well, and
I
there
believe
was
every
there was yeah, there was just a big controversy where ESPN got taken off of some of the other channels down south the day before college football started. And that whole streaming sports networks. I mean, we could do a whole episode on that. Who knows what's going to go. But if you're interested in the business side of things at Disney, all of that stuff plays into the parks. And right now things are kind of in flux, and maybe we'll hear something on Saturday with D23 or whatever. But it would be nice if they had a really great sports bar at the ESPN Wide World of Sports that, like, you had some other reasons to go to that area, not just the restaurant, because I think they do have one that's open most of the time, but you don't really have a reason to hop your family over there or whatever. And outside of, like I said, the Run Disney stuff is great there, and the
yeah.
youth events are awesome. But there's a whole area there that they can develop. So I think that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Chip, thanks for joining me. I hope everyone found our discussions enjoyable and informative. We appreciate you guys taking a chance to like, review, subscribe, wherever you're watching the podcast or listening. Again, we appreciate all the support. The support we had for episode one was awesome, and we really appreciate that. If you're ever interested in being a guest on the show, or if you ever have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to us on social media. I'm at Adventures of a Disney Dad on all platforms. Chip Robinson Dad Life, right?
Robinson Dad Life on Instagram, and then at Chip Robinson on X, I guess what it's called now. So definitely tag us and get in conversation, ask us questions. We love talking Disney. We love talking anything.
Absolutely. And if you have any specific questions, you can also email them to Matt at adventuresofadisneydad.com. I am a travel agent with the Magic for Less Travel. If I can ever be of assistance to you in booking your next vacation, or if you already have one booked and you want to transfer it over and have me help with all your dining reservations and help you plan your trip, I'd be more than happy to do so. Again, we appreciate the support and we look forward to seeing you next time.